How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 155 of the Hoots podcast. It's May 9th, 2019. Hope you guys enjoyed your week so far. Yours truly, Josh Lopez. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Hoots podcast. Really quick, before we get our shenanigans going on this week, as we always do, I want to say thank you for every single person who listens to this podcast every single week, who reach out to us. The good brothers like Alex Rodriguez or Patrick Fritz, Sam Piopo, who has his own podcast now called Second City Sam's Thoughts. Shout out to him. All our good brothers, B-Rob, you guys know who you are. And good sisters, too. Let's not make a sausage fest here. Anyways, again, thank you guys so much for the support. And I want to say really quick, thank you for everybody that reached out to me this week. I turned 25 the other day on Tuesday. Got to celebrate my birthday while at the tattoo shop, and we had SmackDown in the background. You know, as you get older as an adult now, you're not always have to feel like you need to do over the top parties for your birthday. So it was just a cool day to relax and get to reflect on the fact that a quarter of my life is gone now. So while I didn't do anything major or special or out of this world for my birthday, you know, I can still celebrate when I want to throughout the weekend, just enjoy the day as it is. Thing with my family, we have a lot of celebrations in May. So like my birthday is on the 7th, so it's on Tuesday. The Sunday is Mother's Day. So shout out to all the mothers in the world. We're going to celebrate Mother's Day this weekend. My mom's birthday is on Monday. She's turning 43. So her birthday's on Monday and the 13th. And then my grandma from my mom's side, her birthday's the next day on the 14th. So so many celebrations and stuff. I don't know what it is about May's for my side of the family, but a lot of offsprings from both sides of the family. But again, honestly, it was very humbling for a lot of people that did reach out to me that wish me happy birthday. I really appreciate it. It's not a full put me over day. I don't look at it that way when it comes to birthdays. But again, thank you guys so much for the support. The podcast this week, we're gonna keep it a little shorter this week. We got a lot of stuff going on, but I thought it'd be cool just to let you guys know what's going on with New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're gonna get that in the beginning of the show and talk about Double or Nothing, which is coming up in a couple weeks. Got some cool stuff for ad that we're gonna get. Of course, we have our favorite segment, Through the Eyes of the 9-year-old, through at the end of the show, and we got Money to Bank coming up a week from Sunday. So there's a lot of wrestling to get to. But really quick before I bring it, Adam, always make sure to check out the podcast anywhere: Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast from, or even here on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. You can go check out the podcast, and we appreciate the support. So enough rambling from yours truly. Let's bring in the good brother, Adam Daley. What's going on, my man?
Josh, what's going on? Sorry, I was talking to ghosts, dead people there for a second. So yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for everybody that listens. You're probably all gonna hate me by the end of the show today. But we'll get into that a little bit later on. Happy belated birthday, brother.
Thank you, man.
Early Mother's Day to any of the mothers out there.
Man, you know what's interesting? I wanted to bring this up. So we've talked about over the last couple of weeks about, you know, fabricating opinions just to get like clicks or whatever from other people.
Oh my God, you're playing right into my hand. Keep talking.
So I want to give a shout out where credit's due, because I want to give a shout out to the Matt Man podcast, which you can check out on YouTube, by the way. Pretty cool guys. So go check out their shows. It's a wrestling based podcast. So they're kind of talking about what we were kind of hitting on last week about like the confusion of where people are coming up with their takes now as far as where the WWE product is right now. And, you know, some people are easier to find when people are trying to come up with agendas for their takes or hot takes, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So they were talking about it today, and it's like there's this rudimentary feeling that before any WWE show goes on air, they're going to find things to look back from previous episodes just to bitch about it on Twitter before that segment ends or that show ends. And they're totally right on all fronts when it comes to that, because I could already get a sense of what's going to be said on Twitter before segments end. Like for example, the Usos and stuff that's going with the Usos and Revival recently, or Shane McMahon and the Miz, or any other segments that may not be your cup of tea right now. I could have a good gauge of some of these fabricated takes because everybody wants to be first. Everybody wants to be the first to say, "Oh, I was first to figure out when this person's turning heel or this person's turning face." Oh, I'm the first one to point out that this feud or this segment sucks. Like we all need the clicks, we need the likes, we need the follows, we need the retweets. We all need to be celebrities. Not me personally, or Adam, or any other the Good Brothers Against Sisters, but you know who we're talking about. And I thought it was a very good conversation they had on their show today.
You're playing right into my hands when it comes to the joke that I'm about to tell that is going to make everyone who listens to this probably very angry with me. But no, there is this sense of labeling that we need to stop. We need to stop with these over exaggerations. And this is a segment that I was going to call When I Hear It Three Times. Because when I hear it three times, I feel like it's an epidemic. And all these people that always talk about, oh, no, that's not true. It's just, it's true. No, like if I can hear from three random sources that have never spoken to one another, that a certain quote that like does not make any sense. And I'm going to get into it. Oh my God, there's barking. But I feel like I need to address it. So hold on one second. I'm going to mute this. Josh, what do you feel though about these strong opinions that people get that they claim, oh, well, they have, you know what I hear? Dogs settle down, so I'm going to get into it. Here, I want to preface all this by saying one thing. I am not discriminating here against your gender, ethnicity, religious beliefs, whatever you believe. I don't care. But know if you listen to Little Peep, I hate. So now, and we're gonna get deeper into this. And before I start this joke, understand trigger warnings because of some of the subject matter in here. Maybe you want to fast forward through it. Comedy is comedy, and this subject needs to get addressed. So if I hear one more time, anybody, I dare you people, please debate me on this one. If one more person says to me that Lil Peep is the Kurt Cobain of hip hop,
oh God,
I really want you to like reevaluate yourself and reevaluate what you think, not only of music, but of hip hop, but of Kurt Cobain, but of yourself. Because
how about sanity?
Just because somebody dies by suicide, you cannot instantly associate them. Like here is what I heard it from three different people. Listen, and that's probably why I'm divorced now. But because I can't fuck with people to fuck with Little Pete because it spoke like, okay, so here's the thing that I love. And another reason that speaking about the first ofs,
right,
that's always attached to the Kurt Cobain of hip hop is, well, he's like the first emo rapper. Now let's dissect this a little bit. I want to address this. So we're saying that we never talked about emotions in hip hop before, right? So this is, and it's where I lose all the women out there. I'm sorry, but if you out there shaking your ass to Little Jones, yeah, but you ain't never heard Tupac's "Brenda Got a Baby," "Dear Mama," then you ain't listening to the songs. You ain't listening to emotion. You're cherry picking. You know what you're doing. You know why Little Peep is being fucking martyred? It's not because, unfortunately, he died by suicide. He's being martyred because white girls finally have another white weirdo that they can attach themselves to. Because in 2019, you can't listen to M because heaven forbid the dude play a fucking character that raises awareness for a bunch of topics like I'm doing right now for mental awareness that when I bring it for several morons. But anyway, this dude was a household name. You remember, if you were alive, you remember. I don't care, love him, hate him, you remember where you were when you heard the news about Kurt Cobain. I still don't know who Little Peep is. I had to write down that it was Little Peep so that I didn't say it was Little Pump. I'm serious. Like and all I know is that I don't like dudes with a bunch of face tattoos like that. It just it bothers me. I don't want to hear he was only 20. Tupac was 25. Mimi's listening to this and probably losing her mind right now. But don't ever, like, you never listen to Jay-Z's Song Cry. Legit, you want to talk emotional song, it's called Song Cry. He's like, oh my God. Hip-hop is emotion. So to say that he's the first emo rapper, what that means is sad white girl. So if Little Pump or Little Peep, if Little Peep is the first sad white girl rapper, don't ever compare that to Kurt Cobain. That's like comparing Guns N' Roses to New Found Glory, and Guns N' Roses will kick their ass every single time. That's all this is. It finally hit me, dude. After somebody else said it to me, and I've had men and women say it to me, like, but it finally hit me. This is just what this whole Little Peep fad thing is. It's shit white emo chicks can listen to because they can't listen to M anymore because in 2019 he's a chauvinist, he's this, he's that.
Right.
You morons. Everything has to be spoon-fed to people. So if you listen to Little Peep, understand, I respect you and I love you for listening to us. But I hate you. I hate you. Anything itself. Now, what the truly tragic thing is, like really, realistically, and Mike Shinoda was actually, if you want to keep going down to it, Mike Shinoda at one point was labeled the first emo rapper because of Linkin Park. Unfortunately, lost to Chester to suicide too. This is the tragedy. One, that anybody in their lives can compare Little Peep to Kurt Cobain. That's just stop it. I don't care how old you are. I hope you're young listening to this, and I hope you're getting so mad and so mad and so mad.
Triggered.
Especially because we all know Courtney Love killed Kurt Cobain. He didn't actually die by suicide. Now, allegedly. The real tragedy in all this, though, is, and why I've monstered myself today for your people's enjoyment, is all of it could have been avoided. This conversation, honestly, never could have happened if it wasn't for losing these people by suicide. So the real message here is, listen, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. I had to get a joke out there, obviously, but you guys know how much I care about mental health. If you do, tragedies like this, and regardless of how I feel about any of these musicians, the tragedy is in the suicide. So if you think you need help, if you think you need somebody to talk to, suicide prevention hotline is 1-800-273-8255. You can call, you can text. It's a 24-hour day system. It's awesome. It's out there.
Yeah.
Whether it was the 90s, listen, there was a heroin epidemic going on. Kurt Cobain kind of got martyred to end the heroin epidemic. I don't really know what little Peep's thing is, but still, I'm not here to mock suicide. I'm here to mock people that are trying to compare two people just because they both died by suicide. Right. And that's actually the point of all of this, that let's not just make comparisons because of how deaths are happening, because to compare one is like, that's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to that dude that Yao Ming came over for. No, he was actually like someone they brought over as like a publicity stunt for a minute, and like sent back to wherever they came from. So, point being, think about what you say. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. You're a music listener if you have ever spoken the words Kurt Cobain and Lil Peep in the same.
Like comparing The Rock to Enzo.
Yeah, that. Thank you. That it couldn't be that. Right.
Like, come on, let's not be stupid now. But as far as what you were talking about with the mental health stuff, I totally agree with what you had your sentiments there. Like, also, don't feel, sometimes we get ourselves in an inner shell, especially those who deal with mental health issues, that you have a voice in your head, and it gets to a point where you get in a selfish state of mind where you feel like you can't say anything to anybody out of fear of judgment or people looking down on you for whatever your situation you're going through. There's no issue in the world that's minimal that you can minimize, because you don't know how that's affecting somebody internally. So, you always hear stories like, tough enough, get over it, like, it's not that big of a deal. Don't let that consume you or whatever. If you have something inside of you that's been bothering you, speak up to it. Find somebody that you have trust with and open up with how you feel about something. That release of having that emotion coming out of you is better than holding within, because you gotta worry about what some worthless person is gonna say about you or how they're gonna react to your situation. Those people don't matter, but I always looked at it for somebody who's actually dealt with like depression and stuff. I rather let my heart guide me than what's in my head. And if you have somebody that you could trust, like I always go to Adam whenever I'm feeling down about stuff. Like, there's people out there that are willing to listen to you, but you have to go about it in that way. And you know, those issues are not going to go away overnight, but I think there's always ways to at least minimize the inner struggle that you're dealing with inside.
And the bigger point is that let's stop over glorifying like emo, like it's cool to be like sad. Like it's, listen, we are all sad, like, but it's not a cool thing. Like you don't surround yourself with other miserable people. Like there's a channel I had to stop listening to on Sirius XM just because like I started, every song was like poor me and I know this world is tough and like I'm like, I want to jam, man. Like I got a meeting to go to, like I gotta get pumped up, like get away from, like it's just too much. There's just like there's too much over brazenness. There is too much there's way too much on the woe is me card, because then it actually does paint an unfair picture for those that are truly suffering, because it makes those that are truly suffering seem like their problems are minimal, where there are people that are just latching on, I feel like, to mental health as an excuse for everything that they do. So and again, Kurt Cobain would spit on you if you would have called him emo. I would just want you to know that. And just anybody, just understand that. I grew up in the 90s.
I think I've lost count the number of rappers who attach little next to them.
I get it. Well, you know, yeah, that's always been a thing. I get it. You know, I ain't mad at that. I'm just mad at like, well, I am mad at that whole stupid like drip trips like shit that's going on with like all of them, like that little Xan dude, all that. It's, again, I'm not going to go deep into that. There's hip hop lost its way, and it's
yeah. Yeah, people want to talk about WWE losing touch with their casual audience. I've lost touch with hip hop. At least
thankfully, like Joyner Lucas it sounds real nice. Like I mean, thankfully, it sounds like there's some cats coming up that are gonna like bring some decency back into the game. Like Kendrick can only do so much for a decade. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Okay, you know, there's like maybe 3 guys I could pull out from this decade that I really felt like made an impact. Other than like, you know, who's established already, like your Kanye's or your Wayne's or your M's or your, you know, Jay-Z. You know, I'm going like, you know, who came out this, you know, this decade. I got Kendrick. Man, I'm trying to think.
I listened to a couple Meek Mill songs here and there.
Meek's all right. I like Meek.
I really enjoyed Nipsey Hussle, by the way. God rest his soul. I enjoyed a lot of his stuff that he came out with over the last couple of years. Let's see. I'm always old school when it comes to hip hop. I don't know why. I've always been that way. Like I grew up with bad boy music, and then it evolved into listening to NWA and Run DMC. Everybody knows my affection for Biggie Smalls in general. Obviously appreciation for Tupac along the way. But I don't know. It's always been hit and miss. Like even for me, it took me a while to get to Lil Wayne, and then I would listen more to his songs.
Same here.
As I got older, and then I got more into it. I thought Nas was underrated at times. Everybody knows who Jay.
Watch yourself with Nas.
No, I'm not saying a bad thing. I'm saying it's a good thing about him being underrated. But let's talk about somebody who actually does provide better music than Little Peep. His name is Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho made a nice little surprise on the previous Wrestling Dontaku show that happened this past Saturday for New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is having his eyes set on the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. That's right, Chris Jericho will fight Okada at Dominion, which is New Japan's SummerSlam show. So June 9th, New Japan's second biggest show of the year, Dominion. You got Chris Jericho against Okada in the main event. I thought it was pretty cool.
I'm excited about that. I'm excited to hear that. Very excited to hear that.
He's still rocking the Clockwork Orange outfits and stuff, and the mascara and all this stuff. So I wonder. Here's the thing with Jericho, and I love everything he's been doing outside WWE. The stuff he did with Kenny Omega was awesome. Naito, etc., etc. I'm all in with Jericho. I haven't heard him explain why he's doing the Clockwork Orange. What's triggering?
I love it.
To go in that direction.
Oh, I love it.
I just want to know why. Like, I'm into it. I just don't know what's his purpose behind it.
I think he just said like yeah. I mean, I'd like to know what the inspiration was. Other than it's a great character. In A Clockwork Orange. I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of, he's always methodical about what he does, and he's already stated like he knows that he probably won't wear the paints in like when he does AEW stuff, but the paints are mainly for when he's over in New Japan, because it's just more of not that it's accepted or whatever, it's but it is more of the pageantry over there. It's more of the actual war paint. So I dig it though, man. Dude, I love that, and I this is selfish of me, but I love that Jericho kind of has been the one to break out and really start to, because he's the biggest name out right now, or I don't think arguably, because I have to say that, but
yeah,
the biggest name out there when it comes to free agent names that, like when you say the non-WWE names, and he's a draw. And I think, again, he's putting eyes on New Japan. He's going to be putting eyes on AEW. And with everything else that this man's doing right now, like you cannot knock the hustle. And I keep saying it over and over again. And I think that having somebody like Jericho on board with New Japan and wherever, like when they just showed up at a small indie event not too long ago.
right.
It's awesome. You're over the weekend, So I don't know, man. Whatever Jericho, wherever, I think now we're seeing how good these men and women could be if not given constraints of WWE. And I'm not blaming WWE. Again, it's a different. We're watching entertainment versus stuff that you can do almost like freelance in a way-ish. I understand New Japan still, there's guys, I'm not trying to pigeonhole things, but I'm saying WWE is, again, it's more entertainment based first, where they have writers, you do what they tell you to do. But we're getting to see, just imagine some of the stuff Jericho could have maybe came up with in WWE.
Right.
Not that he didn't come up with great stuff all the time anyway, but neither here nor there.
No, I get what you're saying. And as far as him fighting Okada and stuff, I think it's pretty cool. I've seen most of Okada's title matches, and the guy just gets better as the matches keep going on. He had an awesome match that went like 38 minutes with Sonata for the last New Japan show I covered the other day. And I think him and Jericho will rip it up. I'm very excited for that point of view, especially for New Japan. I even heard a suggestion about Jericho actually winning the title and holding it for a couple of months and see where that goes.
Wouldn't be opposed to it.
I think it's just a really cool idea in general that they're going to fight on this big show now. And we're getting Ibushi and Naito Part 2 at that show as well. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Ishii and Evil, probably dropping my favorite New Japan match of the year so far the other day. Holy shit, man. I put a little video of them just forearming each other for 2 minutes on Instagram the other day. And it was just it was an awesome match. I have my bias towards Ishii because he's my favorite New Japan wrestler right now. But this dude kills it. And every time, he always finds a way to steal a major show. Yeah, he's never in title contention unless it's like a tournament or something. Like, I don't know if Ishii will have that opportunity down the road to become a champion, but I hope it does one day because that dude definitely deserves it.
Agree with everything you just said.
Right. So I want to add a nice.
God, pass that one off.
I wanted to add a little feature to the podcast this week because we don't really get an opportunity to. Not that we don't have the opportunity, we just choose not to break down every single segment for every WWE show. But I wanted to add a little feature where I just point out like a couple of matches that really stood out to me. I'm always really big into the wrestling matches, especially technically based. I put a little post about this yesterday. Like NXT UK has been killing it, man. Like if you need a 1 hour show that sometimes it's like 45 minutes, not always an hour long, but if you want to watch it on a network, for me personally, I get more enjoyment right now from NXT UK than I do NXT right now. You're saying that you're triggering people earlier. I just triggered a lot of wrestling fans right now because NXT is God's gift to wrestling shows these days, I guess. I don't say anything bad about NXT. Don't say anything that's better than NXT, right? So yeah. I've been enjoying NXT UK more recently, and they had grizzled young veterans, Zach Gibson and James Drake, very, very good tag team. They defended their titles yesterday against Nolan Dar and Kenny Williams, who's really good technical wrestlers. We talked about Walter and Pete Dunne. They've always had great matches, but throughout the comments, I'm just gonna pick out like 3 or 4 matches that really stood out to me. And you don't have to watch the whole show, but if you want to spend like 10, 15 minutes just watching that particular match, I think you get something out of it. Like, for example, a guy that me and you have a good affection for as a performer, Mike Kanellis, got to main event 205 Live this week against Akira Tozawa. And it was a no disqualification match. And their match went 20 minutes, and it was really, really dope. So it's cool to see Mike Kanellis doing some good stuff on 205 Live. And then the other match I wanted to recommend, my favorite match from TV this week was Daniel Bryan in Rowan against the Usos for the SmackDown vacant SmackDown tag team titles. I got a promo that I'm going to be sharing at the beginning of the podcast this week. You heard it already. Daniel Bryan talked about his ambitions now of making tag team wrestling special and this and that. It's really good stuff. And I think it was the right choice that Daniel Bryan and Rowan are tag champions now. So this is some match that really stood out to me. You guys go check it out if you want. But before we get to this week of programming, I do want to get into Double or Nothing because we are 2 weeks away from the pay-per-view. And the matches already, I think we're up to like 6 or 7 matches already, which is pretty cool. I already know most of the card already, but anything that stood out to you in the road to Double or Nothing or anything else from being the elite that's been catching your eye before the pay-per-view starts?
Jericho, Omega, and obviously I stay off the sheets, so I don't know what Marty's status is. I know he's still doing Ring of Honor shows, right? I think the last I saw. So I don't know. I thought his contract was up. I know he's getting real damn close to the roller coaster on being the elite, but I'm hoping to see Marty there. I'm not gonna lie. If it doesn't happen, I'm not gonna be upset by that either, though. I'm not gonna lie. Part of me is a lot of it is to see who shows up. I want to see if we see Jon Moxley. That's something. That's the anticipation for that is very intriguing. Match wise, Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros. I actually am looking forward to just because I'm interested to see what they're going to do with the AAA belts and because it's almost like a given that you would think the belts would have to go back to the Lucha Bros so that they can go back to but I don't know. The landscape is so different with AEW and how they can cross promote. You really don't know, And there's this Chris Jericho's planting in between the Bucks themselves, and they're doing a really good job of telling stories. I'll admit, I want to see what's going on with MJF. Who's MJF wrestling? That's Sammy G. Sammy G's got to stop. I don't like Sammy G. I don't like Sammy G.
I've grew up with people that look like Sammy G.
Yeah, Sammy G reminds me of why I'm glad I'm almost 40 and I'm not like in my 20s anymore because that's and I'm glad that my daughter like looks through all this as like ridiculous because like that generation is going to be saved by a generation that got lost to quote unquote YouTubers, like us.
Right. I don't know. Like it's this is like character league. I'm just not clicking with Sammy Guevara. He's a really good wrestler though. But
I get it. He's supposed to be that cheesy YouTube personality that like everybody wants to be, and it's just I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not taking anything again in ring away from.
I like the concept they have for the over the budget battle royal. They got a Vegas theme, so now they have the entrance in different groups, like decks of cards, and whoever draws the Joker gets to be the last entrant, I think.
And they're doing 21 entrants, right?
Yeah, something like that. It's a cool concept. It's going to be kind of hard for me to follow along all of the stuff that's going on. I'm just thinking of it typing wise, but I think it should be pretty cool. And then you got SCU against Shima, the guys from Oriental Entertainment Wrestling, something like that. The Chinese faction that's coming to AEW. Is Michael Nakazawa in that match or no?
I don't think so. No. He's Japanese. They're Chinese.
Yeah, I think Michael Nakazawa or Peter Avalon are in the battle royal.
And you know what? I'm actually interested to see what's going on between not only now. Are they going to crown an AEW Women's Champion?
They haven't announced that yet. All I know is that the winner of the battle royal will get a chance to fight for the AEW world title.
Okay.
So Cody called that. Cody announced it on this week's Road to Double or Nothing. So they're not calling it the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. It's just the AEW World Title.
Okay.
Yeah, which is okay. I really don't have a preference. I don't know. I saw somebody talk about it the other day. It should be called the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. Well, we all call it whatever we want to anyway. You know what I mean? Like none of us, because everybody has to be a malcontent and a contrarian. We all just do whatever the hell we want. So.
I wish I could get the Infinity Stones like Thanos and just snag all the people that just annoy the shit out of me on Twitter, like wrestling wise. Just clench my fist, snap, and I don't have to see that shit anymore. But I also have to remind myself there's a block and a mute button, so I don't have to worry about that in the first place too. So
you just stay off like I do. Quick. Oh no, we'll get to Endgame later on.
Yeah, Endgame was fucking awesome. A couple things as far as Double or Nothing's concerned. Like you mentioned earlier, they had Kenny Omega and Jericho fight each other at a local Georgia promotion over the weekend, which was pretty cool. The first interaction they had since the press conference they did about a month and a half ago, and I'm very excited for it. We already saw what the first match looked like in New Japan. It was fucking awesome, man. I have no doubts that these guys will tear the house down. But there's also a little thing inside me where I'm just very curious to see the type of performances that like Cody, the Bucks, and Omega do, because they haven't been wrestling literally for 5 months. They haven't done matches. I think the Young Bucks did when they won the titles, but it was like something brief because they caught people surprised in AAA. It wasn't some like dragged out 25-minute match or something like that. So
have you seen the montages? I mean, there's montages.
Yeah, I saw that. That's pretty funny, actually.
It's fine. As long as there's a montage.
It's just very curious, and then maybe they'll cut another promo for to preview Cody and Dustin again, and that's the match I'm excited for the most. Is Cody Rhodes against Goldust, and they got Hangman Page against Neville, and that's the match I think could seal the show too. But overall, I mean, they got a lot of goose.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about that. Not to cut you off, but Hangman and Pac is going to be nice. Nice.
Yeah, be a lot of fun.
Depends on if he's in full gear.
He keeps calling himself the Bastard. I guess this is gimmick now.
The Bastard Pac, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's one evil bastard.
One evil bastard. Yeah, so I'm excited for Double or Nothing. We're 2 weeks out from it, so we'll see if we get more announcements. All I know, Jim Ross and Excalibur are doing commentary, which is cool. Justin Roberts, who just had a good interview with Chris Van Vliet, I watched that this morning. Justin Roberts, the AEW ring announcer, which is cool. So I'm excited, man. Before you know it, it'll be Double or Nothing. It's gonna be 2 weeks from this Saturday. So let's get to it, man.
What's that? And that's the Saturday after Money in the Banks. There's Money in the Banks on Sunday. Then we got that Saturday is Double or Nothing.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Double or Nothing, May 25th, MGM. They had a little announcement. I think Ryan Samm put out that they're already like they got the contract signed. It's like it's fait accompli that they're going to be on TNT this fall, so they got their TV deal done. They're just waiting for the right time to make a big blah blah about it.
Oh, really?
They also made their announcement that they're going to be on ITV in the UK. I found the timing of that announcement interesting, especially with WWE having their European tour, but which it makes sense. But yeah, you could see for the UK viewers, you could watch Double or Nothing on ITV or any other the pay-per-view platforms in the UK. So it's pretty cool.
TNT's a good network for them to land on. Honestly, I mean, that's not a bad place to put programming.
That's not a bad thing because I'm sick and tired of the NBA, and I have no interest in. The only fun I get out of NBA shows is Charles Barkley in the pregame show, and he's talking about San Antonio women and churros and.
Every time I bet one time and lost about $3 million. He's always talking about gambling everywhere he goes. Like,
yeah.
on Colbert a couple of weeks ago instantly went into a gambling thing. I was like, oh, Chuck, why?
Erna.
I love Charles Barkley.
That guy's a trip, man. All right. So we got Double Nothing out of the way. We talked about Jericho and Okada. Let's get to this week of WWE. I know you were telling me before we came on air that you didn't get to watch all of Raw or SmackDown this week, so a little catch up with Adam's session here before we bring AJ in. We for AJ segment this week we're going to talk about the WWE wildcard rules, so we're not going to talk about that right now. We'll wait till AJ comes in for that segment. All right, guys. So we're, like I said, a week out away from Money in the Bank, and I was looking at the card today, and obviously we had this feature with Becky, 2 belts, having her two title defenses on the show, which is cool. And then we're still building up for this Money in the Bank ladder match. Do you have any early favorites or like people that you would like to see win the match? I know you were talking about last week about how you would like to see Ruby in the women's match, but as far as the people that are already announced, do you have any like favorites or any preferences to win the ladder matches?
No, I mean, I'm pretty wide open on the women's side. I think that I mean, even Natty I'd be okay with, just because, it's a veteran, she's been there for a while. It'd be a nice way, maybe, but if she's in there, that means even if they replace her with somebody else, it's probably not somebody that's going to win. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm actually okay with anybody on the women's side, because I think it could be intriguing to see where they go with this, with storylines that way. On the men's side, I'll admit I'm a little more picky, just because I want it to count.
Right.
I'd actually be okay with Baron Corbin winning it a second time. Although something strange tells me that him and McIntyre are going to cost each other the briefcase.
They could be getting in the feud soon. I can see that.
Yeah. And I really thought McIntyre was the heavy favorite, in my opinion. But I don't want it to be somebody like a Randy Orton or so, and even though I just said Baron Corbin, but I don't want it to be somebody that's won it before.
Or Braun.
Braun, correct? Yeah. Corbin's failed cash in, not like Braun how he had his. I just feel like, again, Braun's the attraction guy. I don't know if he's the championship guy yet. He's still the attraction. So I wouldn't mind seeing on somebody like a Ricochet, Ali. I think that, and again, this match, when you look at it, is one of the most diverse Money in the Bank ladder matches, again, organically, that WWE has ever given us. And it's because of the athleticism that the men in this in this match have. So
yeah,
I'm actually, as long as, and it's nothing against Randy Orton. It's just the character. It's nothing against, it's nothing against Braun Strowman. It's the character. It's, before anybody goes, oh my God, he's hating on this person.
right.
Like to see, I would like to see either a fresh face, or I want to see something big happen with the men's side of Money in the Bank this year. I feel like past couple of years, they haven't had successful cash-ins, right? It's been 2 straight years.
Yeah.
So they're gonna make it count this year. And not saying that I'm trying to cherry pick favorites, but I would like it to see, or would hope that it would be either somebody that hasn't been champion before, or could potentially use it, or like Corbin, for example, that to really get that next level of heat on him that he needs.
There's a big element in this that not a lot of people bring it up. The last 2 years, you had the Brock Lesnar effect. So depending who won it for a particular brand, you had those silly debates of, oh, are they credible enough? Are they, will you realistically see so and so beat Brock Lesnar for the title? We don't have to worry about that this year, thank God, or anytime soon. Hopefully, but yeah, I agree with you saying with diversity. As far as like people that stand out to me who I like to see Mandy Rose win the women's ladder match.
Yeah,
The
me too.
the storyline that she's been like building slowly with Sonya Deville on SmackDown over the last couple weeks has been pretty good. I don't think a lot of people are given they haven't been shedding a light on that a lot recently on Twitter, and I wish they would, because I think it's gonna happen somewhere down the road. I'm not saying in a couple weeks, maybe a month or so. I think sooner or later Sonya will turn her back on Mandy or vice versa, whatever happens. But I've liked what they've been doing on SmackDown recently.
I'd like to see Naomi, potentially take it home. I think that would be good. Mandy, yeah, I'd love to see Mandy win it too. Amber Moon, Ember's another one that I would love to see win. That's why I could go down the line. Like on the women's side, I'm okay with anybody who goes. God.
As far as the dudes are concerned, I wanted to say like it was pretty cool on Tuesday. They had they had Mustafa Ali against Almas, and then Orton cost the match. And then during the beatdown, like Ali is like dangling on the ropes, right? And he's like, "I'm not afraid of you." So they're kind of like making Randy Orton to be like really that dangerous guy that obviously pop up out of nowhere. He's not cutting promos as much these days, but they're really making it his character now is that he is the veteran that's still dangerous, that can still hit you with one move out of nowhere or at any moment. And Ali screaming at him like, "I'm not afraid of you." Like I thought it was pretty cool, like how they're making Randy Orton be like the very, very dangerous guy in the match. So
see, and I actually think Almas might be the smartest pick out of anybody. I think they actually could probably have the most to gain by putting it on him. And I wouldn't be surprised if Almas won it and then took the title off of Kofi.
What if you think about the Aleister Black promos recently?
Oh, they're amazing. Amazing. I can't stop gushing over them.
I kind of wish they did a little bit more of these in NXT before he first came out. Like, yeah, like little vignettes of where he came from and smoke and all that. They were cool vignettes at the time, but the fact they're kind of doing a scale back and letting people know what his character is now, I think it's really cool. And they had to do that with them, with him and Ricochet not being a tag team anymore. Slowly but surely, Aleister Black will be popping up screen, and everybody's like, "Oh, where's Buddy Murphy at? Oh, Buddy Murphy should be in the ladder match. Give it time, guys. Not everybody has to be on the show right now."
You know what? And speaking of Aleister Black, I was and this doesn't mean anything for anybody really, but something I noticed on, maybe some of you guys at home will be able to connect with this. But so my daughter and I were playing 2K the other night. We put it on like the Starcade 83 screen or whatever. Don't judge us. So it's like all that grainy looking screen, whatever.
Right.
This was Aleister Black, like in the match we were playing or whatever. And there's some characters sometimes you look at and you're like, you know what, they definitely wouldn't work in a different era. You know what I mean? Aleister Black is a guy that I think that if in like that even in the early 80s, but like late 80s going into early 90s, if there was a character that was he's very Jake Roberts-esque with how he delivers a promo. It's very methodical. Words are chosen and spoken in certain ways with intent, and I do think Aleister Black's a guy that would have gotten over, I think, in any generation. And I think he's going to be a big time star. And I couldn't be happier because he's one of he's one of my main guys that I pull for in WWE now. That he's not in NXT. See what I did there?
Yeah.
But, no, man, but I think that and I know it sounds like, oh, well, that's a dumb way to, figure that out. It's just looking at the atmosphere and just, thinking back to when I was a child in the 80s watching these old shows, like I could only imagine what people were saying about, like being in that era. And the older folk that are listening to this, you guys know what I'm talking about. We would have went nuts for a guy like Aleister Black, like back, because if we went nuts over The Undertaker, and which we should have because Undertaker's a legend. Imagine if it was an Undertaker that was, again, it was Aleister Black in a way is kind of like Taker Roberts mixed together, without the, and
Right.
I just think people's minds would have, or they just might not have been ready for a character that complex. I don't know.
It's gonna be curious to see like who he starts having his first feud with or anything like that, but we don't have to rush into that. But
No, slow
A-
burn, baby. Slow
Al-
burn.
Aleister Black's gonna be a big star, and the sky's the limit for that dude. I was gonna say, um, a lot of people talk about, oh, they don't make the champions look strong or whatever, and 50-50 booking and this and that.
They
Dude, man,
still talk about that.
they've been killing it with Kofi Kingston so far. I know he has his match coming up with Kevin Owens. By the way, happy belated birthday to KO. So you got Kofi Kingston put on killer title matches. He main evented Raw this week, and we'll get into that later on with the wild card. But him and Dan Bryan had a rematch for WrestleMania, which was really good. And then he main evented SmackDown this week with AJ Styles and Sami Zayn. And him having multiple title matches in the same week on television, it's not easy. And especially the fact these guys are going to be on a European tour right now, and then the tour ends, and then they got Money to Bank that same weekend too. Like that brother is grinding, and he's putting in that work as a champion right now. And I like what they've been doing with him as a champion.
Yeah. So far it's worked out really well, and they needed to kind of put put a little attitude back into him, put a little edge back into him, just to keep, because once you're on top of the throne, you kind of do have to have that a little bit of swag to you. You know what I mean? Other than just like the over the top like New Day style of character, but. I think they've done great with Kofi, and I think the whole thing was, well, was he a believable champion? Yeah, absolutely, do. He's a believable champion. And you know what? This week, and the idiots that we are, we always talk about how much we preach like, why can't a woman be in a man's battle royal or Royal Rumble? I mean, like, because all hypocrites would always say this and that. This week in wrestling history, Miss Jacqueline beat Chavo Guerrero for the cruiserweight championship.
I remember that.
Light heavyweight or cruiser? I think it was a cruiserweight, right?
Light heavyweight.
Light heavyweight?
No, cruiserweight, actually.
Cruiserweight, okay. So there's another title that is a man's title that was held by a woman. And not only that, think about this, a black woman. Oh my God, WWE, those racist bastards, those racist, sexist bastards.
Right.
Guys, this is, again, stop with this, like, you're shoving women down our throats. We've had little milestones. We're finally the world is finally embracing it, and it's about damn time.
There was a conspiracy theory on Twitter. Go figure, right?
Oh God, here we go.
You're gonna love this. So, instead of bad take segment, I'm just gonna call this "Can you believe this shit?" And I'm just gonna call it that because I kind of get amazed of how low the conspiracy theories go and how low people are for attention and how desperate they are to come up with some of these takes. But so there's a conspiracy theory that the women weren't featured that much on Raw or SmackDown this week because supposedly the networks are offended by the over exposure of women closing out the shows each week and this and that. And I was like, are you serious? Like, we wouldn't know if that was an issue if they didn't have the women actually main event WrestleMania this year. Well, like, let's take this one step at a time here. So WrestleMania is a big deal. Obviously, it's their biggest show of the year, and they have sponsors out of the ass. Like the whole weekend is sponsored this, sponsor that, sponsor that. Like Michael Cole's not even called matches; he's just like reading ads while it's going on during the show. Like sponsors is a big deal when it comes to producing these type of WrestleMania events. So we had the women close out the show, and their match wasn't short. It wasn't 40 minutes long, but it wasn't shortchanged. They main event WrestleMania this year, and so 1 week on television that they don't have dominated most of the length of the show. That means all the networks are saying that the women are the reason why ratings are going down, and that grown male demographics getting offended that women are being portrayed better than the dudes on the show. And I'm like, just stop already.
Well, you know what? It's funny because there's two things that you just said that I'm going to blend in together. If these same people are saying that ratings are down and it's horrible, and they're saying that, and they're also saying that women are being punished right now because of quote unquote overexposure before WrestleMania, ratings were fine before WrestleMania. So if maybe there does need to be more women. You know what I mean? Like it's like people are kind of talking out of both sides of their mouth right there with those two phrases. But at the same time, I also don't think that when I look at Raw and SmackDown, especially when there's this large of a gap in between pay-per-views, I look at on Raw the 10 o'clock spot to me is the main event. That's who closes the show. The money, like where the money is for me is that 10 o'clock spot. On SmackDown, it's typically 9 o'clock. It's not who closes out the show per se. So and I'd like to think that if you look back at the past couple of Raws and SmackDowns, the women have been in those time slots pretty predominantly. So it really depends on, it's subjective. It's how you look at the show. So I think I would just humbly disagree.
You know how a lot of times people act like, I'm getting a little echo. I don't know what's going on here. Anyways, is it on me or you?
I don't know. I don't hear an echo.
You don't hear an echo? Okay.
No.
Anyways, like I was saying, like you have a lot of people go on Twitter. They say that Cray is horrible. This is yada yada yada. So I saw a post on Twitter. They're like, "All right, let's see what you got. Like, come up with come up with 2 or 3 things that you would do if you had the power. If you could be in Vince McMahon's chair, what would you do right now?" And the general consensus was all okay. Fire Vince and make Raw be presented like NXT. Just like the laziest responses that you can see right now. And
Right.
I added on to the topic as well. I wanted to give a couple shots to the people who responded to the question. I said I was going to do it. Just give me 1 second while I scroll and find this thing. But
so they want an hour show that's going to be 20 minutes of commercials, so then it's going to get cut down to 40 minutes.
Right, exactly. All right, here goes. So I
run 5 pay-per-views a year. Cool.
Yeah. So the question was, if you had the power to make one wrestling decision right now, what would it be and why? It doesn't have to be company exclusive. One person said they would like to see a pay-per-view of New Japan versus WWE. I thought that was cool.
Oh, awesome.
Shout out to Angelo, by the way. Angelo guy I went to broadcasting school with. He sent that recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
The other one
that'd be fun. It's just unfortunately too much ego and money would be involved, but that would be such a fun kind of cross promotion.
Right. I'm trying to see what Nick sent. Shout out to Nick from the UK. Oh, here we go. He wanted to see 2 things. He wanted to see the King of the Ring pay-per-view come back as a pay-per-view. Also, he said that it would be a cool idea for the Saudi shows to be King of the Ring and also have a Queen of the Ring special in the UK. Something like that.
Oh, well played. Oh, brilliant. Brilliance. I like that.
Yeah, so like whenever they're out in Saudi Arabia, you have all the dudes there, right? Like you have it one day, King of the Ring, and then the next day it could be Queen of the Ring or vice versa, whatever it is. It's not a bad idea. I really like that.
I like that a lot. I really, really, really like that idea a lot. And I'm not, you guys know I'm very mixed on the Saudi show and like how I feel about it or whatever, but that would be a nice way to kind of buffer that, because then like the fill-ins around the King of the Ring would still be all the like the callbacks that the Crown Prince over there wants to dig up bodies and start making them wrestle and stuff. So it's yeah. Anybody back he can. But you know what? At least I think it would maybe in a way make us feel a little better about watching the show. Not that it's it's whatever, but it would make sense then at least why there aren't any women on the show. You know what I mean? And then you're right. You just come back with the Queen of the Ring, which is brilliant to have it in the UK. It really, really is. As long as they can make it work for something. Actually, either way, I'm okay with it. I love tournaments anyway, so screw it. I'm sold. You already sold me. I was like, I don't even care. It doesn't even have to mean anything. I don't care. They could just give him a crown and it means nothing past it. Who cares? You won me with a tournament.
There's a
big on same night tournaments, man.
There's a term in the radio business called P1. So if you're like a listener to a Howard Stern show, and yeah, it's preset one like setting. If you have an old ass car with the old ass radio system or something, so like a P1, like you, that's the main thing you want to listen to whenever you're in the radio. It's kind of different now because we have all our phones now. We can attach it to our cars and stuff. So
ridiculous.
So like in wrestling, like us, like guys like me and you, or people who do shows like this, or people who are diehard fans, we're P1s. This other people who are casual fans that don't watch it every single week, they're the casual audience, and I think a lot of times we expect us to get our style of wrestling on a mainstream show every week. That's why everybody wants to go and be on their soapboxes, and it's not going to be that way.
You know what though, Josh? I would actually, in a way, and not to cut you off, but I would almost and even though I've been keeping up, and I'm going to get Double or Not, and we're going to watch that. We're going to get, we've been buying more pay-per-views outside of WWE this year too, so it's not like there hasn't been a, but I think I would still label myself a casual fan because I stay off the dirt sheets.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, so I don't know with contracts. So, sometimes I'm talking about somebody like, I didn't even realize Jason Jordan retired. And then I would keep saying, hey, what's going on with Jason Jordan? And he just retired. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. Didn't know that. But like, just because I stay off the sheets, I feel like that makes me a casual fan. It doesn't make me a less passionate fan, but it makes me a casual fan in the fact that I don't need to be in the know. Like, would I like to be? Yeah, but I don't want my favorite show to be spoiled by quote spoilers and or want to be like line leakers. Like I'm not, I just don't want to be involved with that. So I think that actually makes me more of a casual fan in the quote unquote wrestling bubble's eyes.
Yeah, and I don't need the dirt sheets to help me figure out what's going to happen. I like to figure that out by myself while watching the shows.
Yeah, that's why we watch, right?
Right.
Why you watched 59 hours of the Avengers.
And you listen to 59 hours of Lil Peep. All right, I'm going to stop. Okay, so before we go through the eyes of a 9-year-old, going back to piggyback and put a ribbon in the bow on this particular segment we're doing here. Was there anything else from the shows this week that did you like, that didn't like, or anything like that?
You know what? Because before we bring her in for it, I do want to talk about the wild card thing, that's going on, or the whatever they're calling it.
Yeah.
It feels jumbled right now. I get it. I think, and I'm probably totally wrong on this one, but I just sense that they're really trying to have, with the success of the Marvel franchise and Game of Thrones and all this, where it's like basically like territorial warfare and or one unit being split in two, or these great large battles. I just almost feel like what they're doing is they're truly trying to create a quote unquote, almost like a blood war between like Raw and SmackDown, so that we finally feel like, okay, there are two separate brands that are in competition with each other. And that's why they're not going to be mutually exclusive, so that they can have these little cross feuds, so that maybe down the line at SummerSlam or a Survivor Series or at WrestleMania, it's basically all Raw versus SmackDown because of all these crazy feuds that have happened, almost like in a, like in Civil War. Like it's just all of a sudden like your friends are your foes are your friends. And that's when you can have the turns, like the heel or face turns, depending on what your favorite show is. That's really what could draw more people over to Fox whenever they do that, draw more viewers into the USA Network. Like why are these things happening? Like I think, and I'm probably totally wrong on this one, but it just feels like that's what they're planting the seeds for. And yeah, it does feel a little chaotic right now. I'm not going to lie. It did feel kind of like, hey, let's just see what we can throw together. And just like everybody and their mother was coming out. Like I'm surprised I wasn't out there for one of the matches in the opening segments this week. But I do think that this is just, Vince's greatest idea that he keeps talking about is basically just putting everyone at war. right? And that is ultimately is where people have to find their allegiances and sides, and it's just because it's, again, this is Greek theater. Like A-Rod, thank you, brother, because like I made the anime joke last week, but he's absolutely right. This is what we watch. Everything really goes back to Greek theater. Anime and wrestling are the same exact thing as comic books and everything else. So I feel like they've been paying attention to what has worked outside, and they're trying to potentially mimic that. Something they should have done maybe back with Invasion, back in 2000, whatever it was, whenever that happened. But and I was there, so I mean that was an amazing pay-per-view to be at. But I think if they went with a year-over-year story, like maybe just like I was complaining last week, about how I guarantee you people wouldn't watch 5 hours of the Avengers every week, 52 weeks a year. Here we are, where I think that's what they're setting up. So let's see if you can follow along.
I think it's a little dose of that, and also it's a little dose of Vince like tapping into people saying that he's gone senile, that he is old man. I'll talk about this.
Like that, yeah.
I was talking about this the other night with Derek while Raw was going on. It's like, this is the ultimate troll job. How many times he kept saying, "Oh, I'm a genius. I'm a genius. I'm a genius," after going over the rules of the wild card rule. And that's all it is. And I think a bigger thing, not only WWE Civil War, but I think it's the next stage of what the reality era is. There's so many different elements of the show that's tapping into everything you read on social media these days. Why not embrace it? Like they had a career video package on Roman Reigns on SmackDown this week. Don't you think that's gonna get people triggered? They're like, oh, Kofi's just a placeholder, so Roman can become the champion before they go to Fox. Like, we know what's going on here.
Yeah, that's definitely down the line, but
yeah, like Lashley, Corbin, and McIntyre, they keep getting these big spots on Raw because Vince likes bigger guys. He doesn't want to give Ricochet a 25-minute match or whatever,
Which I don't know if I even agree with that anymore. Like I don't think there's a certain. I think that's such a fallacy anymore. That's quote unquote the land of the giants. I really do. Again, we just had Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. Kofi Kingston walking out as WWE champ. We had Seth Rollins beat Brock Lesnar, and oh, by the way, we had 3 fantastically athletically gifted women main event WrestleMania for the first time ever. So let's stop with this whole land of the giants thing. That was it at one time, but I do think that they're starting to see value in the live action characters that they are, versus the realism that we try to still want it to be. Like people still want to be, yeah, but it's not, but that's just not like there is a still real to me aspect of it where we have to remember, again, WWE is entertainment first. It's about the stories first. So now they're figuring out ways to tell stories with smaller guys versus bigger guys. It's not the lands of the giants anymore. They're starting to figure it out, whether you like it or not.
Right. And they have a little slow turn going on with AJ Styles. He's gonna be a bad guy before we know it.
I like what they're doing, Styles.
Though he doesn't have to remind us all the time that he's the. I don't know what Kofi said on SmackDown. He was like, "Are you gonna waste our time talking about your architectural contributions and stuff?" And Seth Rollins, somebody's like, SmackDown's been around for 15 years before AJ Styles came to the WWE and stuff like that. He needs to scale down on that a little bit. His feud with John Cena was over with 2.5 years ago. So
you triggered my dog on that one. Holy cow.
A lot of people get triggered these days. It is what it is.
Right. All right. Let's bring the little one in through the eyes of a 9-year-old. Let's what we're gonna do is we are going to see. All right, AJ, come on and have a seat. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, what do you think about the wild card rule that they have going on right now?
So the wild card.
This is what you wanted to talk about.
So remember they said that the Superstar Shakeup was gonna go on all year. This is basically another form of the Superstar Shakeup, I think. Because literally, it's not the Superstar Shakeup, but it is kinda, but it isn't, but it kinda is, but it isn't, but it is.
In a way, they're just trying to every week try to keep us on our toes, maybe to surprise us, keep us guessing on who's going to be on what show.
Yeah.
Now, is it making you more or less interested in?
More interested.
It is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, why is that?
Because it's like, okay, who's gonna come out? And it's like whenever you think someone's gonna come out, they probably won't. And whenever you really don't think someone's gonna come out, they actually might. And it's like just that surprise and that feeling that you know that there's gonna be some kind of surprise that night, so you're very excited for it.
So you like that there's not a definite brand split. You like that there's still kind of crossing over a little bit.
Yes.
Now, do you think, though, that they might use it too much and overuse it? Or do you think that...
I don't know. We just have to see how the weeks go by.
Okay.
Because we got to remember, this is the first week of it.
Good. Yeah, true.
This is the first week. So we don't know how they're going to play it until weeks go by.
Yeah, we haven't had a pay-per-view since WrestleMania yet. So it's like, you know, everyone's already trying to bury people. Like, and for example, I'm gonna get your opinion on this one. Like the Usos comedy bits, like right now, obviously they're just, you know, everyone has to play a role, and right now they're the comedy role. And I don't think what people realize is by going on Twitter and just slamming your buttons and fingers and whatever, like I look at it like SNL. Like right now it's just maybe, you know, because it was the other night it was like part Homeboy Shopping Network meets part like, you know, like SNL parody kind of, you know, there was like some In Living Color like blended with that. Like I see what the Usos are trying to do with the comedic side. And actually, you know, I think with given time, they're showing their personality, but we're so quick to bury people like, oh, this is stupid. This is stupid. Like we have to understand that they're all players. And sometimes you're asked, hey, just you guys are, you know, come up with some comedic material. Maybe they want to be funny for a while. Maybe they want to try and go out there and just have a little bit of fun. What do you, AJ, think about the Usos? Kind of, they're not doing the Uso penitentiary as much anymore. They're kind of.
I like it.
You do like it?
I like that. And isn't Rikishi their father or something?
That is correct.
It's Rikishi's character.
Yeah, because you were playing with Rikishi on 2K the other day. Rikishi.
Yes. Ricochet and Rikishi was my opponent.
Okay. Josh, you want to handle and best explain? Rikishi ran over Steve Austin.
Yeah, he did.
We'll cherry pick that one. Which had nothing to do with his character ever. He ran.
AJ, always remember, Rikishi did it for The Rock.
It was all for The Rock. It was all for the family. Yeah. So Rikishi, in a nutshell, was basically like the he was I guess more for the kids, the dancing. I mean, I hate to say, but he was like the dancing character, like a better No Way Jose, I guess.
He looks like a Samoan sumo wrestler.
Well, yes,
his music sounds like he really likes Tupac, and then he dances and slaps his butt. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you got his character in a nutshell right there.
I mean,
I think you solved the riddle. Yeah.
Yeah, but like seriously, like what's his character?
I think you just explained it.
And then like, what's the name Rikishi? Like, I don't get it.
There is.
Big Keys. You know, the best way I would compare it to, AJ, it's just a more charismatic version of Brodus Clay.
Yeah, remember Brodus Clay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
That was the best way I explained Rikishi.
Okay.
And Brodus was awesome too.
Yeah, he did his role.
I think it was just we were disappointed because he looked like he was going to come back as this monster. And he came out and was.
Hey, I would always take Brodus Clay over a Heidenreich.
Yes.
Mordecai.
Oh, but this Brodus Clay is awesome.
Yeah. There were some really bad characters that came out on SmackDown when I was your age, AJ, that I don't want to remember.
Quite a few.
All
right. Go ahead, Josh.
I guess this is the time to talk about the Funhouse. I said it last week. We're going to keep the Funhouse talk when AJ comes on. What did you think about the episode this week?
Unfortunately, I did not see it.
You didn't get to see it this week, yeah.
Oh, man.
Who got killed on this week's episode?
Rambling Rabbit.
The rabbit, yeah.
Wait, someone got killed?
Well, just a bunny.
I get the bunny got killed, but like,
yeah,
someone got killed? I thought this was supposed to be like a kid's show and the bunny got killed.
Funny you should bring that up because he had children in the studio with him.
Yeah, we got to get AJ to watch it. Get better.
I got to get her caught up on that.
Well, what's going on?
Tomorrow night, we'll get caught up.
What's going on?
All
right, so let me see. Through the eyes of a 9-year-old. You done for the day?
No, I want to say one more thing.
That's what I figured. Go ahead.
One more thing. Always, always, always skip to my part, and then once you listen to it, immediately exit out.
There you
Bye.
go.
Bye.
And then the exit stage left. So.
Hey, how about it? Again, she comes up with the best point to explain what's going on with the wild card rule while everybody's losing their mind over it on Twitter. Go figure.
Yeah, and honestly, that really is what it's about. I mean, guys, it's a ratings pool because we want to see, okay, so who is it? So who is it? You know, I do have my concerns that maybe but I don't think they'll overdo it. You know, I think maybe they're going to overdo it at first just to kind of get us used to it, but then they'll make it, you know, I understand every week it's going to be, I don't know. See, this is where I actually am now kind of excited for it.
You know where I see this is coming from and why? I think a lot of people are buying the perception that Vince is going to start like moving away from wrestling once the XFL comes closer, and the show elements could be more focused on Shane and Stephanie, or Triple H and Stephanie against Shane. Like Shane's ego is getting more and more out of control as the months go by. That's where I see this is going. That's why I feel like all this stuff is going on right now.
That's a good point because I don't want to say they're due. There does have to be a payoff, I feel like, with this whole best in the world stuff. Only because, again, you're only triggering fans into something that, although a reaction is a reaction, so why not, I guess, dig into it. But
right.
I'm a firm believer of just let sleeping dogs lie, you know, unless you go somewhere with it. And if there's a payoff, like, okay, so now he's the commander of SmackDown, the general, you know, and you got Stephanie as the general of Raw. And I don't mean like general manager. I mean, you know, I'm talking like wartime here, guys. Like that's an interesting, you know, especially when it's nicely played about the whole senility thing, like how Vince playing into what the internet says about him. Because then it is like, you know, I keep comparing it to Game of Thrones. It's like it would be like Shane and Stephanie fighting over the crown now, right? They'd be over the throne. There'd be a vacant throne. And then who's to say Triple H couldn't be that wild card to say, hey, I'm just, you know, and that's where it could be interesting. And obviously I don't think they'd ever pit Stephanie and Triple H against each other. But what I'm saying is there's so many, you know, potential ways that you could fantasy book in your head. That is the fun of it.
Right. And, you know, let's feel like a character is going on a losing streak, or maybe they don't have a feud on a particular brand. They could pop up the next night on whatever show it is and like challenge like the IC title or the US title, or even a tag team for that matter. Like, like a blindside attack that comes out of nowhere that you don't.
I was gonna say it's a great way. I was interested to see the other night when during the Usos match, because I thought, you know what, if the Usos win these tag titles, they could take them back to Raw. This really starts something interesting, you know, because then it doesn't mean they stay on SmackDown. They're technically on Raw, but they're the SmackDown champs while on Raw. I mean, I think there's a lot of intriguing things they can do with the titles and everything, and storylines. I think there's a lot of potential if people would just give it time to breathe. Let the A's breathe.
Let the A's breathe. Fandango. I'm curious to see when he's gonna return. That dude had a bad knee surgery that he is recovering from.
Hopefully sooner than later. Yeah, I'd like to see him come back at some point, unless it's
Fandango.
I
think a lot more people are going to get pumped for Money in the Bank, especially this Monday, since WWE is going to be at the O2. So they're going to be in London for Raw this weekend. By the way, please, I know Ab's off social media. For me personally, don't send me spoilers from Raw or SmackDown this week. I don't want to see it. I actually would like to watch the show. I get it's taped and stuff and this and that, but I always been that way when it comes to the international shows. Just let me watch it. I know it's taped, and I know it's gonna be heavily edited, and everybody's gonna have their own. There's no organic feel about Raw or whatever, but I enjoy these London shows for the crowd, and they always make it better. You know, one of the reasons why I enjoy NXT UK, I enjoy their crowds more than the fans at Full Sail. I love the UK fans. They've been doing their shows recently in Glasgow, Scotland for UK, and it's been fun watching those shows on NXT UK. NXT UK is fucking awesome. I don't care what anybody thinks. 205 Live's been through some good stuff as well. They're having an NXT UK versus 205 Live show next week, so that should be pretty cool. I'm gonna watch that next week, and then yeah, man, you love the London crowds, right?
Yeah, I always love when they go overseas. It's I'll admit it's one of the few. I give certain cities a pass or certain places a pass whenever they want to go out and just have fun. And especially because the UK, they don't really ever get, I mean, they only get like, you figure they're four, I guess, broadcast shows a year. They don't get any pay-per-views. They get live events, but, I'm talking like they get 2 Raws, 2 SmackDowns a year, and it's not necessarily in the same city. So go nuts. You know what I mean? It's like a Chicago crowd or a Philly crowd or,
right.
So yeah, you're always looking forward to those crowds. I'm off social media, so I'm not going to worry about spoilers. So that's not an issue there. Yeah, man, I am looking forward to those crowds. Though. It's always that's a crowd that just straight enjoys themselves no matter what, and you cannot, regardless of whether you love or hate what they're chanting or what they're doing, you have to love a crowd that, regardless, is they're going to make sure that they're having a good time versus a bad time.
We're gonna make our prediction.
Sit on your hands, people. Don't sit on your hands.
Don't sit on your hands like a revival match. But
Right.
anyways, coming up next week, we're gonna make our predictions for the pay-per-view that has a bank that has money in it.
We can stop with that, right? It's been years now. Yeah, we can.
I know. Anyways,
Also, I gotta toss this out there just because, and you know what, right? Because we're about to end the show. We got to wrap here pretty soon. But I want everybody out there to know that, like, obviously, all the Sasha hate comes from Josh, and I know it's reactionary because of that has nothing to do with me. I have no issue with Sasha Banks the way Josh does. Josh, brother, need to have like an intervention or something after one of the shows one day. I'm totally kidding.
I don't have a personal issue with Sasha Banks. It's her fans that I can't stand.
Nah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
You already know, man.
It's becoming an obsession, though, brother. Be careful.
No, I'm not obsessed about it. I throw maybe 2 jokes a week. Just when I feel like, when I get like a reference or something, I'll just toss it out there. But I'm not thinking about it every day. Anyways, let's talk about Endgame before we wrap up here. Part of the Endgame as we're wrapping up the podcast.
Is it? Do you think it's too soon, or are we still going to be careful about what we talk about with Endgame?
I mean, by the time tomorrow happens, it's going to be 3 weeks. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Okay, yeah, always fair by week 3. So
I always have the rule: once a movie comes out theaters, I always give it 2.5 weeks before I talk about it on social media.
And I feel like we're giving anybody out there enough fair warning that we're about to talk about Endgame. So if you don't want spoilers and or anything, spoiled, I guess,
take AJ's advice. Just skip to the end. You don't have to listen.
Yeah.
So I got to see Endgame on Saturday as a little birthday gift to myself, just a night out, not to be stuck in the house or whatever, nothing to do. So I go watch Endgame Saturday night. Pretty cool place to watch the movie theater on Western in Fullerton. Western and Kedzie in Chicago. If you go to the Regal movie theaters around that area, it's just a cool joint to watch movies at. Anyways, all 3 hours of Avengers I partaked in. I consumed it. They had this whole thing with the the time machine. So that's kind of the genesis of the movie. So we start from where we end at Infinity War, where Thanos basically got rid of everybody. And everybody's depressed, and they're trying to figure out how they could fix the situation. And then Ant-Man returns, and he comes up with the idea of coming up with a time machine to go back and relive those events, but do it right and bring everybody back just through technology. I love the line, though, in the movie is like, oh, so Back to the Future was a bunch of bullshit, right? I really enjoyed a lot of the subtle comedy parts in the movie. I thought Thor was awesome in the movie.
It was great. Yeah.
The whole Big Lebowski gut and everything, I thought was hilarious. Him and Rocket would have a good buddy cop movie in the Marvel world. I would watch that, actually.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not as much there with the Guardians of the Galaxy, but I will admit it made me think watching Endgame. Now that we talked about like the time jumping and how they're doing a little bit of time travel in this, I wonder if that's why DC kind of scrapped their idea for Flashpoint. Because they didn't want to seem like they were mimicking a little bit too much. that's kind of like my disappointment with that, because I wanted Flashpoint for very selfish reasons. But
understandable.
What did you think about? I mean, okay, so now we're gonna talk about the end scene. So, what did you think about the end scene where Captain America is just there? Which he didn't time travel there; he just happened to have been there. He would have known that they were going to be there, right?
Yeah.
My take on it, and you guys can shred me on this one, but that literally is like Batman being able to travel back in time, just never taking on the Batman persona and just letting Gotham burn to the ground while he like flies out to like Bermuda somewhere.
Right.
It completely defeats the purpose of who. Like, I almost feel like it. That's where they totally lost me. Where it was like, huh? Wait, that doesn't you? Then I don't know. It's just I didn't necessarily care for how they ended that part of it, but.
Yeah, it didn't compute with me either. And I saw the first Captain America movie. It was a regret because that movie dragged like shit.
Yeah.
One of my least favorite Marvel movies out there. But he was so fixed. They even addressed it in the movie. He was always like fixated with the memory of his girlfriend at the time when he was in the war. And then that's all he cared about. That's all he wanted. So I understand why they did it. It just didn't mesh with me as it went on. The stuff with Iron Man and his daughter and stuff, that stuff was really sad. Especially with the little pre-record thing he did at the beginning that they showed towards the end in the funeral scene. That was pretty sad. I
think it was time though. We need a new Iron Man, and
it was time.
Junior, but it's about time to like recast and it's been 10, 11 years with this now,
Yeah, literally Avengers started when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of cool how this all concluded and stuff. And my favorite parts of the movie were whenever Thor was doing his comedy bits. I thought Hulk did a really good job. Mark Ruffalo, the comedy stuff he was doing, that was really good. And then when Black Panther came out with all of Wakanda, I threw up the X and stuff, and everybody in the theater was like going nuts when that whole fight scene was going on. So there was parts of it that I didn't think that needed to fill all 3 hours. It's different from watching wrestling where you have your breaks and you have talking segments. It's just nonstop during the 3-hour movie. But I thought it served its purpose. It was a good conclusion to that series for what it was, and I really enjoyed it.
So Infinity War or Endgame, which did you like better?
I enjoyed Infinity War more.
Yeah, me too.
For me, to see an actual bad guy close out the movie the way Thanos did in Infinity War, I haven't seen that. Not even in DC movies. Like it was really cool. Infinity War is one of my favorite movies that I've seen in the last 5 years. So I would say Infinity War, but that's no disrespect to Endgame because I really enjoyed it too. And if you guys haven't seen the movie, go check it out. It's really, really good.
I mean, I could argue in The Dark Knight, even though he gets captured, Joker wins. He turned Harvey Dent bad.
Hey, Joker always wins, man.
Joker always wins. Always.
All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up there for the podcast this week. I want to thank you guys so much for supporting the show as always. On Instagram, where you can follow us on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast. I have little short snippets of the podcast. Just give you a little preview of what the show was. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow. You can follow our podcast every single Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. Leave us a review or rating on all those platforms. And also make sure to check out the podcast here on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to get all our previous episodes so you see what we've been up to recently. Make sure to check out ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at the Hoots Podcast. As not social media, so we don't have to worry about that right now. Let's give shout outs really quick. Brother Carter, give a shout out to the D to the E to the R to the E to the K, Mr. Blues Clues himself. Also, I want to send a quick shout out really quick. I found out the news over the weekend that Anthony and from RANT with Anthony DeStefano is taking a step back from podcasting in June 8th. That's going to be the final RANT with that episode. And they decided they're all moving on for personal reasons, not bad ways, but life. Sometimes life gets in the way. You need to have those breaks and stuff. And as much we always talk about, it's only 168 hours a week. How you want to spend it is how you want to go about it. And I respect their decision to move on from it. And unless the only good way about doing shows is if you're having fun with it, right? So I have a lot of respect for Ant, especially for him and G-Rod to take a chance on themselves and build their own brand after leaving NAI, that cesspool and all that nonsense. It was cool that they started doing their own thing on their own terms. And I thought that was really cool. And they made a nice brand for themselves. And I'm very proud for Ant for that. And it sucks that he's going away because I don't listen to a lot of wrestling shows. I mentioned the Matman show and I listen to Bruce Pritchard or Eric Bischoff, but as far as like shows like us that we do, like I don't listen to a lot of them. And Ant was one of the few I would listen to, and I always appreciate his work. I appreciate his friendship and how genuine he was with me over the years, and getting to hang out with him in person in Orlando and New Orleans. He's a good brother. So it sucks that his show's going away, but it was a really good one, and the game's losing a really good podcast, and it sucks. But I appreciate the decision, man. Family and life always comes first before podcasting, so I respect it. So I just wanted to send a quick shout out to Ant. The fact Rant with Dan's going away pretty soon.
Yeah, good on Ant. Smart decision, brother. Podcasting is family first. This is child that we're doing here.
Yeah, so real quick, again, shout out to Ant for all his stuff that he did with Ram Dant. Again, thank you guys so much for joining the podcast this week. Happy Mother's Day for everybody that's celebrating it this weekend. And we'll be back here next week to make predictions for Money in the Bank. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Love y'all. Peace.